Good morning, Miss Daly. My name is Dr. Holden, and I wanted to talk to you about something that's very important for people who are seriously ill and in the hospital, something that helps us a lot, especially if things go wrong with you, and that is advanced directives. Could I talk to you for just a few minutes about this very important subject? Then we will need to fill out a form for this called the Power of Attorney for Healthcare, so we know who to call to make decisions about you if you are so sick that you cannot speak for yourself. No? Maybe I should come back later. Do you know how to talk to patients or family members about advanced directives? The doctor who opened this talk did not. He was long-winded, unfocused, and said things that were guaranteed to frighten our patient. Bringing up advanced directives is a skill you can learn with a little guidance. That's the subject of this video, an introduction to advanced directives. This is Dharma for Doctors, Spiritual Care for Caregivers. I'm your host, Chaplain Greg Holden. What are advanced directives? Advanced directives are written legal documents that identify how a person wants to be cared for in the event that they are unable to direct their own health care. They can't communicate or they have cognitive issues. Some advanced directives describe life-sustaining procedures. The written directive for this is called POST, Practitioner's Order for Life-Sustaining Treatment. This document specifies whether or not a person does not want artificial ventilation, wants blood pressure medications, or other life-sustaining measures. I am not going to talk about this form because I'm not a doctor and I don't feel I'm qualified, even though some chaplains do talk about the POST form with patients. Discuss this with your ethicist or your palliative care team if you want more information about the POST form. I'm going to talk about the Power of Attorney for Healthcare and related documents. This is the Power of Attorney health care form that I filled out with hundreds of patients in hospitals. There is also an advanced directive form called a living will. This form enables a person to declare that he or she is of sound mind and that they do not want life-sustaining measures. It does not specify an agent. This is a form called 5 Wishes. 5 Wishes is kind of an amazing document. It was created by a nonprofit organization called Aging with Dignity. It spells out the power of attorney and alternate powers of attorney and goes way beyond that. It covers end-of-life care, funeral wishes, and everything related. It's really the best and most extensive form someone can fill out, kind of the Rolls-Royce of advanced directives. But it's a project to fill it out. It takes time. And this form has a creator and a copyright on this document and does charge a fee for each copy. So hospitals tend not to use it, but some hospices do. All of these forms fall under a more extensive and useful umbrella-like designation called advanced care planning. This is something everyone should do, but most people don't think about advanced care planning until they're sick or something serious happens to them. The Gunderson Healthcare System in Wisconsin conducted a campaign to get all the residents of La Crosse, Wisconsin, to fill out advanced care planning forms and specify their advanced directives. Nearly 96% of people who have died recently in La Crosse have advanced directives in place. This is compared to 30% of people in the wider population who have advanced directives. So let's focus on the Power of Attorney for Healthcare form. This form and other advanced directives must be filled out when the patient has decisional capacity. This form only covers healthcare. There are other forms for finance and real estate. Those are separate and usually require a lawyer to fill out with someone. You might be asked about those forms, particularly the one for finance. People might need to arrange for a relative to get access to their bank account to pay bills, for instance. Tell the patient they have to talk to a lawyer in that case. When residents accompanied me on my rounds, I had them fill out the power of attorney for healthcare for themselves. They would name their own agent, complete the end-of-life care section if they wished, and get an overview of the process. It's not a bad idea. You might consider doing this yourself sometime. But I always told the doctors, and I tell you now, that if you get a job at another medical institution in another state, you will have to fill out another power of attorney form. There are 50 different forms, each for a different state. Some require one witness. Illinois does. Some require 2 witnesses. Some forms, like the one in Montana, require no witnesses at all. So that part is confusing, but some sections are common to all of these forms. The patient fills out the name and address. The patient identifies the primary agent and provides their contact information. And any secondary agents are identified who can serve as the agent if the primary agent is not available or abdicates this responsibility. When the agent's authority starts, and any general guidance on life-sustaining treatment, any limitations to the agent's power, things that the patient doesn't want the agent to do, the patient's signature, which is vitally important. The patient must sign this form, even if it's difficult. Sometimes just a mark is possible, and any mark will do. And a witness's signature. Generally, doctors, at least in Illinois, I'm speaking just for Illinois where I worked, generally doctors cannot be witnesses for a power of attorney form. You have to get a nurse or a chaplain or a social worker or someone else to be the witness. We will go through the contents of the power of attorney form in the next video, but I wanted to give you one important tip on talking about this with your patients. Well, 2 tips. Those 2 things will dramatically increase the chances that this conversation will go well. Number 1, sit down. No, not you. Sitting down will be much less threatening than towering over the patient and looking down on them. Number 2, 1 short, simple phrase. Create 1 short phrase to introduce the topic simply. I used to say, Mr. Jones, who do you have to make medical decisions for you if you can't speak for yourself? That's it. Any more will overwhelm the patient, a person who is sick and probably overwhelmed anyway. Don't say something like, have you ever thought about advance directives? Or even, has anyone filled out the power of attorney for healthcare form with you? Even the name of the form has the word attorney in it, which tends to fill people with fear. So don't go there immediately, at least in the first phrase. Be relaxed. Smile. Practice this 1 phrase. Here is another variation. Who do you have to speak for you to the doctors if you can't speak for yourself? In the second video about advanced directives, we'll go through the contents in detail. And I said in video number 2, if you need help filling out this form with a patient, call the chaplain. This is something chaplains are trained to do, and they put patients at ease in a way doctors might not be able to. But you can do this. You're here to help patients, and this form will help them a great deal. Filling it out gives them 1 less thing to worry about. I used to tell patients these things to encourage them, and you can too. And by the way, hospitals should come up with that phrase and ask it for every patient who's admitted, right at the time of admittance. Who do you have to speak for you if you can't speak for yourself? Some hospitals do this, but the one that I worked at did not, and it caused lots of problems when the patient became seriously ill and doctors and others had to go around looking for family members and figuring out who to talk to and who was the power of attorney for health care according to a hierarchy specified by state law, which I will mention next time. Until next time, this has been Dharma for Doctors, Spiritual Care for Caregivers, and I'm your host, Chaplain Greg Holden. Thanks for listening, and please subscribe and like this video, and post any questions in the comments. I wish you peace.